I paid $1,700 for this pre-built PC from NZXT, which they call the streaming PC. Question is, does it stream? And is it worth $1,700? Let's talk about it. So let's start with the specs. We're just gonna go from the outside in. We've got the H510 case, which comes in white or black. And I think it's a pretty sleek looking case. And the big critique of this is that, airflow is not optimal in this, although I have this case obviously here, and for this computer over here, which I use for crypto mining, I've not really had any issues with airflow. For the RAM, we're running 16 gigabytes at 3200 megahertz. Storage, we've got a terabyte of M.2 storage, so it's pretty fast. Powering the whole thing, we've got a 600 watt bronze power supply from Seasonic, and we've got a B450 motherboard from Gigabyte that has Wi-Fi built in. So if by chance you are not able to wire in directly, you're good. You don't need to buy anything extra with this PC. And for the graphics card, we have an RTX 3070 from Gigabyte. And no, it is not the Founders Edition, but it still looks and performs superb. Now for the processor, if you were to buy this computer right now on their website, they are selling the Ryzen 5 5600X. What I actually have is the Ryzen 7 3700X. And basically what happened is shortly after I bought my computer, they switched to the different processor. You have 2 more cores with the 3700X. So this has 8 cores. The one that ships with the streaming PC right now has 6 cores. Now before you freak out and think you're getting screwed, the 5600X is considered by most people and for most purposes, especially for gaming, to be the better processor. They're pretty similar, they're pretty comparable with performance and pricing, but when it comes to gaming, the 5600X does well, and it's a newer processor. Those 6 cores are built with a whole new framework. They're way more optimized and all that. So the 6 cores are, they're not apples to apples, basically. So they perform super well. However, when it comes to really intense multitasking, the 8 cores in the 3700X do start to outperform the 5600X. So that's a small rant there, but you're gonna get the 5600X, and most people would agree that is the better processor. So lucky for you. The last thing I'll say about the specs is they do forego the stock cooler that comes with the CPU, and they throw on their own NZXT Kraken M22 cooler, which is a better cooler. And it's got some cool digital features where this computer obviously comes with NZXT Cam app, and from that app, you can control the colors of what the digital face looks like. You can't change what it says. It's that NZXT logo is stuck there, but you can change it to a different static color, different color patterns. You can even associate the colors within there to match your GPU or CPU temperature, or how hard they're working, or the frame rate that you're getting. You can also sync it to any music or audio that's playing. So a lot of little cool features just to add a little spice to the visual aspect of this PC. And the other app that it does come pre-installed with, I will say, bloatware wise, NZXT actually did pretty good. Those are the only 2 apps I recall seeing installed, is NZXT Cam, which helps you control that, along with everything. You could technically just overclock your whole system with that app if you wanted to. I would still recommend MSI Afterburner, but the other one it comes with is RGB Fusion, and that allows you to control the coloring in your motherboard. There's a little bit of RGB in here, not much to write home about, but that is also technically able to be customized. Now, anytime you talk about pre-built PCs, you always get the comments of people saying, oh man, what a ripoff, 1,700 bucks. I could build this thing for way cheaper. Well, technically, yes, you could, but also no, you probably won't. Let me explain. Today, I went ahead, so this is fresh. I went ahead and I tried to build this exact same PC myself, obviously shopping for the parts and whatnot, and here's what I found. getting the best deals, everything that's available, like not having to wait. You can build this entire thing minus the graphics card for $860. Now, obviously you've got Windows on top of that. So let's say you buy a key or something for 10, 15 bucks. Windows comes pre-installed on this, obviously, so you gotta factor that in. Now you're up to like $875 pre-graphics card. So do the math. $1,700 minus the $875, that leaves you to, I believe, $825 is what you're spending for that 3070 graphics card there. Now, that's above MSRP, but not by much, and it's definitely cheaper than what you're gonna be paying on eBay or these other places where you're paying scalper prices of $1,100 to $1,300 on average from what I'm seeing for this particular card. So unless you want to devote weeks of your life watching alerts and just hunting like crazy, trying to buy this card at close to MSRP, you're gonna be waiting a long, long time. And again, you're not gonna wanna pay the scalper prices as well. So when you factor that in, 825 bucks, a little bit above MSRP, and what you're gonna pay at most places, even these places that drop the card and you get a deal, I would say that is worth it. You're gonna get this computer in 3 weeks. That seems to be, it was exact. From order to delivery, I got this computer in 3 weeks, and that seems to be pretty much the same time period for other people I have talked to. I've seen some recently get it as fast as 2 weeks, again, when it's in stock. So is this computer a good deal? No. Is it a bad deal? No. It is what it is. I think it's a very fair price considering the market and for what you get. I've been very happy with the purchase so far. Now, when it comes to the shipping and the build quality, I did a video, which I'll link to down below, where I unboxed this whole thing. We go over everything. Long story short, shipping went well. I've checked all of the hardware. I couldn't find any damages or any loose connections in this build. However, one thing that NZXT did drop the ball on is disabling XMP. When I checked the BIOS, they had that disabled for some reason. That should be enabled, and it's kind of hit and miss. I've talked to other owners of this exact PC who bought near the same time period as me. It came enabled for them. So definitely when you boot this thing up, check your BIOS, make sure XMP is enabled. It's super easy to do. And what that does, if you're not familiar, is when it is enabled, it allows your RAM to perform at the full advertised speed, which in this case is the 3200 megahertz. So that's a big difference in performance when you have that disabled and enabled. And when you're talking about a gaming PC and a streaming PC, that is critical. You have that enabled. So when I enabled that, that did make a big difference on my performance tests. Now let's talk about performance, and this is arguably the most important part of this analysis. How did this thing actually perform, not only when you're gaming, but when you're gaming while streaming? Unfortunately, I had a lot of issues when I first started streaming, and I can't necessarily ding NZXT. Some of the big obvious ones, which I ended up making another video about, and I'll link to that below with some settings you can do. I was not running Streamlabs and OBS as an administrator. That is key. Make sure when you're launching that program, you run it as an administrator. The other thing that, I don't know if this is NZXT's fault, if this is something they can control, but one thing you've got to do is go into your Windows power settings and move it from balanced to high performance. That is big if you are into gaming or streaming. You should do that on your computer you have right now, honestly. Just go ahead and kick it into high performance. That makes a big difference. So those were two things that I was not doing that once I fixed, I saw big improvements. And the other thing you should do is just disable Xbox Game Bar. Nobody uses that app. You can use NVIDIA to capture all of your game highlights, or if you're streaming, obviously you can capture other ways. But disabling that in Windows will free up some more resources. And the other big thing that I discovered, which I should have already known, is before you stream, make sure you restart your computer. Makes a huge difference. You're working in all these applications all day, and even though you might have things closed, you know, things get clogged up and bogged down. So when I started doing that, when I made all these changes that I just mentioned, and before every stream, I restarted my computer, I was able to stream pretty flawlessly 1080p 60 frames per second. Now, keep in mind, a lot of the streamers that you see on Twitch, they are streaming with dual PC setups. That makes a massive difference because all of the load of your stream application and any other processes, that's all happening on one, and then the other PC is just focused on the game. With a single PC, your processor and your graphics card, they're working out both things. Now, when it comes to gaming on this computer, just outside of your stream, just straight up gaming, this thing performs beautifully. I mean, you've got a 3070, you've got one of the top GPUs on the market, so you can push most games to the max. I play a lot of games on ultra settings, ray tracing turned on, and it's beautiful. Now, I did some benchmarking, and I'm playing on a 1440p 144 hertz monitor, and I was running these games at high settings. And all of the Call of Duty games, I was averaging between 120 and 130 frames per second. For Fortnite, I was averaging around 140 to 150 frames per second. Forza Horizon 4, I was averaging 150 frames per second, and that was running on ultra settings for that game. I also ran the famous Heaven benchmark tool that gave me 203 frames per second on average with a high of 401 frames per second. So yeah, it's a good gaming PC. There's no argument there. So is it worth it? Yes, the NZXT Streaming PC is worth the $1,700. Yes, it's a little expensive, but that's the market that we are in right now. The good old days are behind us. Hopefully they come back soon. We'll see. But if this was a bad deal, it wouldn't be sold out all the time. So people are definitely getting their money's worth. Whether you're buying this thing just for the GPU and then you're gonna go mine Bitcoin, or you're gonna use it as your next gaming streaming PC, you're gonna be happy with your purchase. Now, if you wanna see this very computer in action on stream, be sure to follow me over on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/TechAuditTV. I will link to that down below. I go live every week, and you can come and see it and ask me any questions you have about this PC, and I would love to answer them for you. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you want to see more content like this in your subscription feed, you know what to do. Until next time, my name is Brandon Hassler, and this is Tech Audit TV.